Get to know all your favorite VRChat DJs all in one place. This is VRCDJLIVE.
Little bit of a quick, yeah, there you go. Little bit of a quick, unannounced announcement here for the show with VRCDJLIVE, and it just happens to be that we're always so busy, and as we've been kind of talking about on the show for the past month or so, is just how busy we have been along with all the different things like festivals and events and our own lives and even summertime too. Like summertime has just been really busy for all of us. But as of course, we try to do our best with everything that with life gets thrown towards us. And with that being said, we're back at it again here at VKet. Welcome on in. I'm Rob Roman. This is VRCDJLIVE. Glad to have you guys here for the show. And in par usual, we talk with a lot of different guests here on the show. A lot about the upcoming rave scene, the DJ scene, upcoming festivals and events. Of course, VKet being one of those types of events that is just constantly happening. And we even sat down with Lun 2 weeks ago to describe what he was thinking about VKet and the fact that it always seems that there always happens to be a little bit of time, maybe like 4 months of time that happens, and then people are just like, what, VKet again? But at the same time too, the VKet team is working really hard. Like they're starting to work on the winter stuff even now. So again, it's just a matter of making sure that we keep on up and up with everything that we got going on here, especially for the fact that it's the weekend, which I'm sure we have lots to talk about here for the program. And having our first guest within our remote here at Virtual Market Summer. Well, man, you have so many damn titles. Between the fact that you DJ and you've been keeping up on social media with all the different events that you've got going on, and then just getting off of Project Community Fest, please welcome to the remote studios again, Noved Player. Thank you for coming by again.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me on, Rob. Much appreciated.
So,
it's always a blast.
So how are you feeling right now? Because like I'm not going to even bring up Project Community right now, just because like I'm sure we have plenty to talk to about that. But like, how are you feeling because of the fact that you just came off of Project Community? Again, you have lots of massive events either happening previously or coming up, and the fact that VKet is finally here. I mean, this is not even a full weekend, but you know, we still got a lot more time of VKet going on.
Oh, 100%. No, definitely a lot of amazing events this summer. I would say VKet being, of course, one of the biggest ones here. Lovely view from behind us, which is it's very nice. Yeah. You guys definitely got a good spot for your guys' booth this year. But yeah, no, it's definitely a crazy summer to say the least. Always jam-packed with so many events, with everyone being, on vacation or holiday or whatever the case may be, especially during this time of season for summer. It's definitely a lot of amazing events going on.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed because I don't know if I've ever been to a VKet that has had so much foliage before. And earlier today, I got to hang out with Sinrith in Kyoto over at one of the other instances. I think it was like some sort of botanical garden kind of a world. Or a flower garden world, and it was just like they had everything from palm trees, not palm trees, like pine trees, to like flowers that you actually had to draw towards the. I mean, obviously, I don't want to ruin the world experience, but you had to like hand draw the plants, and then they got to make them, and so unique.
Yeah, that'd be the hypothetical garden world with VKet. It is a very beautiful world. All the different areas with all the different plants and stuff. It's very, very beautiful. They did a really good job this year on that.
Yeah, and it's funny too because even when talking with Lun about virtual market and stuff like that, yeah, there were some things that he really enjoyed about the fact that he wants to continue to make new lore and new stories, and when he's working with the team and through Hickey and stuff, that they come up with all sorts of new, like, again, like this world is just so phenomenal just because, like, first of all, it's very rare that you get to go to a mall this size, let alone the actual staff has to walk around and actually clean this size of a mall. Would literally take them months to do. But then he was also kind of worried about the fact that most VKet instances were getting recycled, and he was worried that what those recycled worlds would be such a problem for a lot of people that would come to these instances almost all the time. And in reality, I mean, it's kind of the same thing with like regular users coming in to revisit their old favorite maps from like a couple years ago, where while it could, you have a sense of nostalgia, some throwback, but at the same time, the world creator has made something better for it. So I kind of wanted a little bit of your opinion on that too, just because, he was trying to focus a lot of attention on that. And the way I kind of see it and eyeball it is just kind of like, well, we can always take a page from this. Not everything has to be brand new, but we can also find ways to recycle things in here to make them even greater.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with that. I would say one of the biggest things when it comes to using old worlds, because this is not the first instance they've done this. They did it with Groove Graph City last year, that big like graffiti jet set radio themed world. There's always a chance to make it better in a sense, like whether it's come to optimizations or making it more easier to manage around, to say the least. But I know VKet's done a few repeated worlds. It's a 50-50 sometimes. I feel like it's definitely gotten better as the years have progressed, and you definitely could see how they progress from when they first started the world, like last year, and then like this year, because I mean there's definitely a lot of things around that it makes it a lot more easier to optimize and everything, which is very nice.
It's also really great to see the progression of how Virtual Market has been kind of rolling along as well. And I can't say that I've been in here since Virtual Market 1. I've only known what I've known since back in like 2018, 2019, give or take. But the sheer mass of what we've got going on in here too, as well as the recent influence of Project Fest, the Project Community Fest, it's just like, it's great to be able to see so many people being a part of that, being part of the groups, being a part of a new movement, if you will, in virtual reality, especially when showcasing what our community has to offer. So I want to kind of take it back to Project Community Fest too, and talk a little bit about how that worked out for you guys this year, building it as well as putting on the show with all sorts of events going on too.
Yeah, of course. I will say it was definitely a lot of work this year, with it being our biggest year to date. We had 232 exhibitors between two worlds. It was definitely a learning process for a lot of our staff, whether it was development team or our media team or the new community relations team, which I'm the team lead of. Definitely a lot of work. And not many people get to see the behind the scenes stuff, but myself, as well as like Deathmap and Wolveeps and Carrot and Pesky and a few others, some of the team leads and directors, we work hours upon hours on end to make sure that this is, going to be a bigger event and a better event than the year prior. Definitely lots of man hours, and it's all volunteer based. So we all, do it because we're passionate about the communities, the VRChat community as a whole. Definitely in the long run, I would say Project Fest 2025 was a huge success. The amount of times I've had people come up to me or some of my other staff and like thank them for the amazing opportunity, whether they're exhibitors or attendees. I actually got a lot of DMs saying, "Oh, like I miss it already, yada yada yada." I'm like, "Oh, it's like glad we can make this experience for you." There's always next year, and there's always HorrorCon coming up, and all the other amazing events like Virtual Market and Four of Us Audio. So I mean, there's other plenty great events when it comes to these types of experiences, but overall, definitely overall, I'd say Project Fest 2025 was a huge success, and we are very thankful for everybody who attended.
One of the cool things that I got to experience, as well as within Virtual Market, is the implication of the whole Unity SDK thing, and how Project Community was also a part of that, and just really making it very easy to understand submissions, either if you wanted to create a booth, or you have the template, which worked out very, very well from what I've seen from a lot of other booth creators or people that want to create and want to be a part of that. And I would only assume that putting something like that together, you do have to do a little bit of talking to with some other groups to see how they're doing it. Obviously, with VKet, they've got this massive team, and being able to, they have to work together to create something like that. Was that a difficult process to even get something like that started, or was it kind of a word of mouth? You just kind of have to talk to who you need to talk to kind of, make something just as good.
So I will say, when it comes to the template booth specifically, those were all made by Carrot. And he's had years of experience of, doing stuff through past establishments and past related experiences. But he's the one that makes all the template booths for each like HorrorCon and Project Fest. And so far, I mean, it's been a massive improvement each time. With 2023, it was kind of basic compared to like what we have now with 2025, where it has like little cubes hanging down. It gives more aesthetically pleasing stuff. When it comes to the Unity SDK, that was also via our dev team. We wanted to make it in an easier way that pretty much anybody can understand, like that uses Unity. Just to give people an ease of access, because not only can you use the web tool for the template booth, but you can actually have the template booth inside of the the SDK that we provide, and you can actually edit it to your heart's content. So if you don't necessarily want just the basic template booth with the web tool, you can always go into the SDK and upload that same pictures to that texture file or the material, and you can just add whatever you want as long as it fits within the SDK, and it's very nice.
Yeah, and that's also, again, all of this is very interesting, and maybe it's just me just sitting here going like, well, every time I come in here, I'm always like a month behind when it comes to the technologies and stuff. And funny enough, what was it? We just had Fia Bunny on the show on Thursday to talk about content creation, as well as she's got this massive following on YouTube, and obviously she's dating someone who is very multifaceted with the VR algorithm, between headsets and new games and developers and stuff like that. So during this whole process, that was when the big video about the big screen and beyond 2E came out, where the developer was sitting with Tupper, and I remember just like laying in bed, just being like, I can't believe I have to sit here and watch a 1-hour video about this so I could keep up with the latest technology as well as everybody else is concerned. And so like we have these conversations, and for me, it's difficult for me because it's like I wish I had more time like I used to have in VR, where everything was still very slow and still very new. And I feel like the progression of the latest technologies, or even, again, I look out here and I'm like, man, we're really grateful to have such a cool view and a very nice map and stuff like that. But it does seem like it's forward moving with more users, and it's getting, I don't want to say it's getting more difficult, but like I want your opinion on that, because like, again, like, we just had a friend who was just here mention that she has a new headset and was able to do the mouth tracking and the eye tracking. And I think it just like lowballing this entire thing, I think someone low-key bullied me because I'm still operating on an index. And I'm like, I'm sorry if I don't have the $1,200, $1,300 that this new headset is providing to be able to give me that type of a concept. But even considering the fact that these festivals are massive and they take a lot of work and they take a lot of staff and energy. So moving forward, I mean, you got the opinions in the comments saying how much people love Project Community Fest, and the fact that I would assume that your team is starting. You have already started talking about next year what could happen. But what is your opinion on like the forecast of how quickly this technology is growing compared to the ease of being able to put something like that together?
It is absolutely insane how fast we are growing when it comes to VR technology. I mean, I remember back in the day where, VRChat was very new. Unfortunately, it doesn't reflect on the little badges that they just put out recently, because I didn't link my VRChat account officially to my Steam till forever after the fact. But like going back from like 2018, 2019, and seeing from back then and old videos and clips from back then and pictures to now, like in that small time frame, VR has changed drastically. You know, we have over 100,000 players a day now, which is, you know, concurrent players a day, which is crazy to think about. Not to mention, you know, all the amazing events and like, you know, different Unity versions we've went through, all the SDK versions we've went through. It seems like every other week, or at least like every 2 weeks or so, there's always something new that's being, you know, created either by VRChat or by the community that essentially breaks limits, like for any VR social platform. It's really crazy if you think about it. I have a hard time keeping up with it myself, so I could totally understand, you know, in that retrospect, because I mean, there's always something new. You know, if you're gone so long off this platform, you know, it's going to be a whole different atmosphere when you get back. I had a buddy of mine recently, my buddy Jay, who essentially, you know, he's been dealing with IRL stuff and job stuff, and totally fair, but he just got back onto VRChat for the first time in like over 8 months. And he came back, he's like, where the hell am I? he's like, so much has changed. And I'm like, yep, welcome to VRChat. Everything's changing all the time.
Right.
Nothing stays too stagnant nowadays. But I mean, with all these different festivals showcasing VR in its true nature, it's, you know, it's always growing, and, you know, it's never a dull moment here. There's always something crazy going on.
Mm-hmm. You ever think it's? I don't want to lay into the cause of concern, because there really is no cause of concern. The only concern is like having too many instances of whatever's happening at any given time. But that's normal. I mean, you know, if one of these instances is full, you make another one. That's basically it. But it's just a matter of, like, for me, it's just a matter of the hardware. And like, I'm not saying that the hardware I mean, it is old. I've been taking great care of it. But at the same time, too, I feel like the pressures of getting the latest, greatest headset they're tough because of the money cost of it all. And I wouldn't want to think that we're ever going to go back to the whole, like, oh, you're a questie. You know, I feel like it's been such a long time since someone has used that term. Not really a derogatory term by any means, but like at the same time too, like, you know, say that they're a questie is just like, doesn't mean much besides the fact that they can't see a specific thing. But just that too is just like VRChat in general is just a very popular place to be. It's happening. It's popping. There's lots of things to do in here, and I think a lot of people want to be able to come in here. But I feel like, do you ever feel like there could be another wave of just people complaining about how overpriced things are? Or do you think that they're just going to go the route of Android, iOS, you know, playing VRChat on the phone because that's a thing?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, as time moves on, and unfortunately things cost more as years progress, you know, whatever, inflation, capital, whatever you want to call it, there's always going to be somebody who complains about the price, no matter what it is, which is, it's understandable. You know, times are tough nowadays, you know, but, you know, we got to remember these things are not easy to make. Like, some of these things are costing, you know, hundreds of dollars to make and to ship it and to manufacture it and all the other costs. You know, while I'm not a particular expensive headset user, like I use the Quest 3, for example, with PCVR, and it does me exactly what I need to and then some. You know, would I like to upgrade to like an Index or a Vive? Sure, but I mean, do I really need to? Not necessarily. I look at it as like I do with my phone. You know, if I don't need to upgrade it, do I really need to? Like, is it going to be beneficial enough for me, for my own personal usage, to warrant me to get upgraded to, like, you know, a Vive or an Index or a big screen, so on and so forth.
Well, let me ask you this, because
cool
I don't want to say that the norm of face tracking and eye tracking is starting to become more of a hot topic as of right now, just because of the big screen. I mean, you can have the HTC Vive. I actually just saw someone has made a TikTok on the HTC Vive TikTok channel about VRChat eye tracking with their devices. And I don't want to make it seem like it's I mean, it's a popular thing for people to have, but I think a lot of people believe that is the norm to have. So if you don't have it, then you are not cool, I guess. You know, I don't want to say it like that, but I mean, at the same time too, I feel like there's some peer pressures on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's hit that point of normality yet. It's getting there. I think it's just more of like, this is really cool. Like everybody, it's like I don't want to call it a fad either, but like it's one of those like it's nice. It's really nice. Like it makes a lot more expressive stuff, and especially with the VTuber feature with like desktop users, you know, where they can use like like their camera and do like eye face tracking everything. It's definitely helps. But I don't know if I would consider it the same level of like the whole Quest versus like PC VR. It's not. I wouldn't say it's quite there yet. I could see it. Give it a couple, like maybe a year or so down the line. Maybe there's a more affordable headset that has like face tracking and eye tracking and stuff, and maybe I could see that being at a point, but not at this current moment. It's like slowly climbing there.
I was gonna say, like, have you even considered like what the holidays could be? Especially, I don't want to say that like Halloween is coming up, but like Halloween's like what, 3 months away, something like that. So the whole month of October,
yeah.
and then the holidays are gonna be here. But it's again the whole thing about the big screen headset that was throwing me in a loop was because of them announcing that now with the pre-sales, with people getting it by September 1st. Obviously, we're gonna hear all about it once people get it. But then I feel like other headsets are going to follow. Other headset companies are going to be like, oh, we better hurry up and try to get something ready for the holidays, and hopefully to compete with the price range of that compared to how popular VRChat could possibly be towards the holidays, because it does tend to be. I mean, I don't remember the numbers of New Year's Eve this past year, but like even then alone, this place was popping. Yeah, it was popping. Yeah. So it's I feel like it's a weird time to be concerned about it now, but it's also the kind of same concern that I feel like a lot of us don't think about currently. I always feel like it's going to happen way too late. This is also kind of concerning the DJs too. I feel like a lot of clubs are going to be thinking about making their events, or maybe they're working on holiday spooky maps that they could DJ at or have their own Halloween thing. If not, we're probably gonna end up seeing it in 2 months.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially with like Spookality's probably going to come back again this year. HorrorCon's also happening with Project Community, which we're already starting to make progress on that, and we're really excited for this year. I can't say too much because it's still under wraps, but yeah, it's going to be definitely exciting to see all these horror creators and communities come together and create amazing stuff, as we've always seen for the past couple of Halloweens and Octobers.
Sure. So before we get into some like DJ talk, I wanted to know a little bit of the feedback that you ended up getting from Project Community Fest this past year. Again, you were saying a lot of people enjoyed it. They enjoyed the two instances. I tried my best to kind of go around to look around, but I have to do that on my off time just because I've been in and out of, I just got promoted at my job. So I've just been focusing my attentions on that. But tell us a little bit about the feedback. And I wouldn't want to say, obviously whatever you receive as far as opinions and comments that you're going to implement into the next year, but what have been some things that people have been wanting to see, or what have they seen so far that they really enjoyed?
Yeah, no, definitely the variety of events that we had this year was a really big hot topic. Because not only did we have like our main streamlined events, but we also did have like music events happening in the worlds. We also had like performance groups at the Creator Mall World, like on some of the nights. So essentially some off-stream events that people had came up to me or one of the higher up staff and like, hey, we noticed like you don't have any events at this late into the night. Like, is it okay if we use the stage? Yeah, sure, why not? We had Failed to Render. We had Sonic Speed Network, which is a little group of characters from the Sonic the Hedgehog series that love doing like little performance shows, like with avatars and music and stuff. We also had a few other performers doing DJ stuff and live performances. Different music communities throughout VRChat doing live performances. It was really cool. The amount of feedback we got when it came to that. And definitely something we're going to look forward to in the next coming years. I know, obviously, I'll say one of the biggest criticisms when it comes to this year's fest, which is totally valid. It was a test run this year, was kind of the separation of communities and creators. when it came to the two worlds. We did get a lot of criticism on that. We got a lot of criticism on that. But we are, it was a test run just to kind of test the waters to see how it would play out. And overall, it played out very well. But a lot, because of how big the communities are, it kind of did overwhelm the community world versus the creator world. So we are going to do a little bit of mixing when it comes to next year. And we are also going to make the worlds a little bit more optimized. So we're going to essentially with future, at least for next year, one of the things we as higher staff were saying, essentially, we're not going to do anything too crazy new, but we're going to polish and refine it to make sure that we can keep improving while we're growing at the same time. So essentially making it more optimized where, we may have more worlds, but it'll be less booths per world. So that way, it'll be an even experience and you won't have to deal with like lag if you go to certain areas of the map. So lots of refinement and stuff. But overall, I would say besides that and a few other minor things behind the scenes, we're always trying. I mean, we're human at the end of the day. We make mistakes, but we're always trying to fix them and do better for the following years to come.
It's fun to hear the evolution of how all of this is kind of starting to unroll and unravel because again, for people that have been in VR for a little bit of time, we have seen different iterations of like a convention space featuring virtual reality. And one of the things that I love doing this show because this show, it allows us to sit down and kind of put all the pieces on the table and say, hey, are we doing well? Something fits. And how can we make a much larger picture out of the pieces that we've had? And this also kind of shapes up to the whole landscape of virtual reality in general. It's just like, I might be a little too forward with this, but I feel like in 2025, everyone has done such a fantastic job so far to cultivate something, the VRChat in a much positive manner than it has in previous years, either through YouTube or on Twitch. And I feel like even the people that have been kind of pushing the envelope a little bit when it comes to this type of, the spicier type of content, I think they're starting to get the message saying, okay, there's a lot more creatives in here that want to have the limelight and the attention, but also a lot more creators as well. I'm also having a real big struggle with is VKet so far. I've been running into a lot of 3D modelers, and I'm sitting there going, that's cool. I'm glad that you do that. But I really hope that you don't end up being those type of bot accounts on Discord that everyone's been seeing about. And they start their shtick with, yes, I'm a 3D modeler. And then I'm just like, where have we heard this before? Like, are you actually real? Or are you a bot too? Like, what's going on? So again, having all of these creators is great, and they're coming out of the woodwork. And maybe some of them I've been seeing a lot more this year of people doing 3D modeling that want to get into VRChat, and all of that is very exciting. But at the same time, too, I think it's our personal responsibilities as users in here, not just like trusted users or known users or anything like that. Anybody that's in here, that we need to give a better light to VRChat to the people that want to come in here. The obvious is they're going to go on TikTok and see all the crazy stories that you see, the public black cats. That's the most popular thing right now, is going into one of those and trying to figure it out. But at the same time, too, like we've got so much going on in here anyway. And I feel like we've gone above and beyond this year alone compared to what other people have been trying to make in the past. So what are your thoughts on that? Is it's not even just with VKet, but just we're halfway through the year. Are you impressed yet, or do you think we still have a little bit more gas in the tank?
Oh, I think we definitely have more gas in the tank. I'll say there's always ways for improvement and growth, not only as a platform but also as a community as well. I mean, realistically, there's so many things that have yet to be touched when it comes to like creation in VRChat. I hear, it's funny because like doing what I do, I hear so many different ideas, but like there's not a there's not a way to properly implement it into Unity or VRChat. So people are always trying to come up with ways and systems to make things more, optimized for Unity, which is, it's crazy to think about. Like, so obviously, like some like, Unreal Engine related stuff, or, some of these other mainline, like, game production programs. Not all of them are going to be, easily done with VRChat, but if they can tinker with it and make it VRChat compatible, changes the game entirely. I mean, just for example, like, let's take a look at the VRChat camera over the years. Like, that thing has been from very basic to now it does crazy stuff. And you have the community making, things like VRC Lens, for example, or, Camera Path by DX. It's, all these different crazy things. And now, we have the DALI system, with VRChat implementing it itself. There's always stuff that can be improved on and built over itself. But as a community, I mean, we're always growing. We're always growing at the end of the day. It's really crazy to think about how big this platform has grown over the, I guess, almost 11 years now that this platform has been around, or longer than that, actually. It's definitely crazy to say the least. But I always think there's always a path for growth when it comes to VRChat and VR creators. It's one of the reasons why I love, watching so many different, shows and stuff. Like, that's why I made my own show. That's why, between VRCDJLIVE and Metaverse DJing and the NovedNotes and a few other shows that showcase different, people and creators and DJs and communities of VRChat, there's always a way to learn something new, and expand, your own horizons in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And I was actually we're going to talk a little bit about NovedNotes too, just because you've been cooking. Every so often, like every week, I see something brand new, and I'm just like, I can't keep up. I gotta try to keep up. But even as we were talking about too, like the influence of VTubers again, and having more VTubers wanting to be a part of our economy, and I'll say it's a very twisted landscape too, just because V Shoujo just hasn't been having a very good year this year, and there were some members of the V not even just the VRChat community, but like the VTuber community that's just been really testing the waters, and some of them ended up getting canceled. So the whole landscape of VTubers right now is a little rocky, just because of, you have a lot of these agencies, and they're not saying a lot of great things. And we'll take Gura for an example. Like, for someone who's so innocent and so, I would say, pure, but they're human, I'm sure. Is just that if she's having a difficult time, why would it be so popular to get VTubing back into the fray of things, and again, talking with Lun, and Lun was just like, if you can't make it as a regular VTuber, you could still come into VRChat and learn about VTubing stuff, as well as the clothing and the accessories here at Virtual Market. But out of all of the fun things that you've been doing with NovedNotes, tell us a little bit about some of the interviews that you've had so far this year, compared to some of the other interviews that you've had in the previous, even the previous year.
Yeah, well, I mean, realistically, it's always ever expanding when it comes to the outreach, which I'm extremely thankful for anybody watching that's been on the NovedNotes. It's been a real honor that I've been able to do this for over a year and a half now. It's weekly uploads. Up until Project Fest, it was weekly uploads. I had to take a 1 week off for Fest, which I broke this. I was a 70-week streak, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't have the time. But being able to get to understand the mindset of these creators and communities has been crazy to me. I actually just released an episode today over on NovedNotes with it was Drowns in Italian and Evan the Floydian, the producers and director of an episodic series that was Rain Dance nominated called Shiva Squad Survivor. If you ever watched like Survivor, the TV series, or Total Drama Island, or any of those type of shows, it's essentially like that, all filmed in VRChat with the Shiba base made by PJKT.
Great.
So all the characters and everything are Shibas, and getting to kind of see a lot of the behind the scenes work and like what made them so passionate about filmmaking. was a really good one. I actually had Mumi VT for the week prior. They actually interviewed me as a part of their Project Community Street Interviews thing, but I had taken the longest interview, over an hour, and I was like, if you want, I could just make this a podcast episode so you don't have to sit through an hour of editing work. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, go for it. I'm like, cool. So, but I mean, yeah, different creators on that front, and many different like communities. I know another good example. I just had one of the founders of one of the American VRC boxing teams, Yagi Kuzumaki, the COA VRC boxing team. Super wholesome guy, and he's been trying to get the word out about the American side of VRC boxing, doing amazing work. But I've also had like world creators like Alitaman and Lieutenant Shadow, creator of the Furry Hideout. I've had, VTubers, I've had Nanobun TV. I had the developer of Standable actually come on the podcast, good old I3 Llamas. And this was all within like the last 10 episodes, and it's really crazy that, I get the chance to talk to all these people, because at the end of the day, we're all people at the end of the day, but to kind of learn what their mindset's like and kind of learn how their mind works when it comes to creating stuff. It's a crazy thing to think about. It's a crazy thing to get the chance to pick the minds of so many people.
Yeah, and I think a lot about your podcast too, just because when I was first starting VRCDJLIVE, I think it was between Lun and Tupper that kind of influenced me to make this show. But with Lun, it was more of a, why don't you do a podcast about VRChat? And I didn't want to do that because I felt like there were way too many people and way too many groups and way too many interest factors that like I technically would not have the time nor the energy to be able to touch everything. So when I do see between you and Metaverse DJing kind of doing more outreach, and having the scene and the musician scene come in too, obviously we want to make sure between all three of us that we do a good job at representing what we got going on in here. But I mean, again, with your guests of Rain Dance and video stuff and having all of these guests on there, it's really great to see that all of that is being covered as well. But do you find that a little intimidating just because of the fact that like it's not even a matter of a shortage of content, but it's a matter of like how much further out do you need to go before you come back? There's just way too many things over there that you still have to get to, but I feel like you kind of have to connect it a little bit before you get way over there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely intimidating to say the least. Like, there's been times where I'm like, am I going too far? Like, am I reaching too far without, keeping somewhat of a humble, base? Because I never have ever considered myself a big creator. I just want to state that as a disclaimer. Like, but it's getting to that point now where I'm starting to get recognized in like public instances, and it's such a weird feeling. I'm not used to that. Like, I'm just a guy that likes to edit videos. Like between you and Metaverse DJing, there's a lot of episodes as well. But with my episodes specifically, like, I make them into, I don't like to call them video essays, but video podcasts, because if we're talking about something, I'll throw it up on the screen, if they have footage of it or pictures or whatever, I'll throw it up on the screen so people can actually see what we're talking about. Rather than just, listening to it. Because, I mean, the podcast is on 9 different platforms, 3 of which have video, which is YouTube Music, and Spotify. And then, like, iHeartRadio and Pandora and all those, and Amazon Music and Audible, those are all audio only. So I don't see it as getting as much attention over on those platforms. But I also believe it's because of the videos, because I actually showcase why YouTube Music, and Spotify are probably my 3 dominant platforms. Spotify just recently actually hit over 700 listeners, which was crazy to say the least, or at least within the last 30 days. But it's definitely intimidating, especially since I do so much editing work with the podcast, trying to, because not only do people reach out, but I also reach out to other people as well. Like, if there's something I'm very interested in, I'll be like, yeah, like I would love to, have you on, if you're interested in some of my work, here's the most recent episode where I talked to this person about what they do. Just to kind of give people an example of what, because I know a lot of bots out there like, oh, like the what we talked about earlier, I don't want to come off as a bot. I want to genuinely, meet the person and, pick their mind a little bit if they're willing. Haven't had anybody say no yet. So that's,
I like the commercials on YouTube every so often, like before you get to a YouTube video, they just say, we see you, video creator. And like, it's like, you could have at least started with my name instead of being like video. Like I have other things that I do instead of video creator, but okay, we'll at least go down that path. But that's all super interesting too, especially with the Spotify thing. And I recently, I think this morning, I was searching up some information about an artist, and that artist was featured on a friend of mine's radio podcast through iHeartRadio, and he also uploads all of his stuff there too. And I'm just like, to be fair and honest, it's really convenient because let's just say that you are going to talk about a specific artist. Like, let's just say you're going to talk about Laid Back Luke. When you search Laid Back Luke up on Spotify, like all of the things that he's been a part of will be also in that search history too. So that's why I saw his, he runs the American, the American Dance 30, on the iHeartRadio through Evolution. And so he was able to talk to him, and I'm like, man, just to be able to have that footage there, just to explain that. And even more so, like, let's just say we do talk to some musicians or DJs that have a Spotify influence or any sort of podcast influence somewhere else. You search that information, it's going to just pop up everywhere. So being able to have that ability and being able to be in the forefront of that is super motivating for me, because now I could think about, I want to do that too.
So it's funny you mentioned that because I love the way Spotify does their stuff, because with creators for Spotify, it allows you to not only, tag the person, but also under related content, you can actually put like some of their stuff. So if I'm talking to a musician, they have stuff on Spotify, I can put their music underneath the podcast so they can go directly check it out or whatever the case may be. And kind of to agree with you on, searching them up on a platform. I know some of the musicians and some of the audio book people I've had on, like Mr. Creepypasta, for example, with his narrations that he does on Spotify. Like if you look up Mr. Creepypasta, there's all of his stuff, and then also boom, there's the interview I did with him. So if you want to learn more about him, they can do so while checking out some of his other stuff. It's a very convenient way, especially with creators for Spotify. It allows you to not only essentially access an RSS feed, which is nice. So I upload to YouTube, and then I upload to Spotify, and then Spotify actually redistributes it to all the other platforms for me, so I don't have to go through the account process and upload it individually, which is super nice. It's very helpful. But no, Spotify is definitely, when it comes to podcasts, I always recommend, and I actually recommended Lion after I talked to him for a long time. I was like, dude, you should try to get on Spotify at the very minimum, and you could always redistribute it out if you want to go even further. And so he started uploading to Spotify as well, and he's like, yeah, this was actually amazing idea. Thank you. I'm like, dude, I want to help. I want to help him out as much as he helps me out. Like we're partnered podcasts and stuff, and we always throw each other like guests we've had on or whatever the case may be, or help promote each other. And but yeah, no, networking when it comes to Spotify, like distribution and stuff, has been absolutely helpful, and I highly recommend it for anybody out there who's doing podcasts or audiobooks or whatever the case may be, because it does help. And you can also upload video as well with Spotify now, with
cool.
podcasts and stuff, which is very convenient. I think that started roughly 4 or 5 months ago, I think, if I remember correctly. So I actually like re-uploaded all the videos and stuff, and yeah, so all the episodes in full video are also on Spotify, which is nice.
Yeah, and especially having a nice little, kind of a triangular forefront as far as doing podcasts and relating information. Like, that's all super helpful here in VRChat too, because I feel like, I don't want to say that we're professionals at some of these things, but like at the same time too, if someone were going to reach out to you about any sort of rain dance or video, or even anybody that you may know, they would probably go to you because you have so many episodes. For DJing, I would assume that they would come to this show to kind of talk a little bit about what's going on in here, even though we're not the tell all of all the DJ stuff. But I feel like nowadays people are just like, well, why don't we just have a guest from our community come on and talk about whatever they need to talk about? Or the same thing with Lion Turtle as well. Lion, he sits there and he just lets them go and just says, we have you on here for a thing, and he hits some really hard questions when it comes to a lot of his programming. So I feel like between the three of us, we're doing the justice of the VRChat world. And especially for our guests that just came in from the raid too, we ended up getting a raid from Sinrith, who was just recently going around to all of the different worlds. What was it? 4 different worlds, two instances of 2. But able to kind of stop by here. I guess a lot of people that were a part of that group. I was joining in on it, but by the time we were to get to here, it would have been already 2.5 hours. I'm just sitting there going, I could have been prepared for this show. We could have worked a little bit harder. But but I'm glad to have everybody here, and hopefully you had a wonderful time over at Sinrith's. And again, this is VRCDJLIVE. We're sitting here in the Crater Mall, and I believe there's a different term for it. I'm sorry. This is
Alter Vista, I believe.
Yeah, the Alter Vista Midnight Crescent Crescent Com. Yes. So we're going to be here for a couple of hours. We're sitting here with Noved Player, just kind of talking a little bit about what he's been experiencing with Project Community Fest, as well as the NovedNotes podcast as well. I want to talk about your DJing a little bit. We only have you for about another 10 minutes, so we got to break it down in 10 minutes. But, again, you've had a lot of different opportunities. I know recently, I think you were invited to be a part of a big event that you might want to talk a little bit about. And how's DJing going for you outside of doing all these massive things in literally a month?
No, it's definitely been crazy to say the least. But yes, I actually got invited to perform over at the VRCDJLIVE Cosmico event, which will be July 26th and 27th, which is the big event for Jugadores, which is essentially a hub for all the Spanish and Latin America creators and communities of VR. They essentially do what we do over at Project Community, but more catered towards Spanish-speaking communities. They are reaching out more to international levels. Project Community is also helping with them as well, and I'll have my own booth there as well. But I'll also be DJing on their front line. It would be the first DJ of the Sunday night for American time, I should say. But it's definitely crazy to say the least. I actually a couple days ago, 2 days ago to be exact, I actually DJ'd for one of the staff members, Uranic. And he got me and a bunch of other 3 other DJs together and just did a pop-up event. So getting to do that was a fun time. There's actually a new DJ who I'm going to start trying to get him out into the scene a little bit, because he's a really talented individual. He's been DJing IRL for a long time. It was his first time ever DJing in VRChat. Did crazy visuals that never seen before, and I'm like, wow. Where have you? And he asked me for advice when it comes to VRChat DJing. I'm like, who are you, and why do you need my advice? I was like, dude, you the entire instance was jumping. It was absolutely crazy. And I believe it's I know his VRChat name is Mr. Tammy's, but he's absolutely nuts. I think Tammy the Unicorn is the DJ name, I believe, if I remember correctly. But he is absolutely talented. But yeah, getting to DJ mainly for different communities and events, whether it's Project Fest or VRCDJLIVE Cosmico, or a few others. I know I've DJ'd some anniversary events for some communities. I know Kocho no Yakuza is another one that I'll be DJing for here in the next month or so, because they reached out to me. Making playlists for some communities like the Little Renegades, which is a 90s style street gang community. Just been kind of all over the place. I like to say I'm a jack of all trades, whether it's DJing, vocal performance, or podcasting, video editing, all sorts of stuff, event hosting. I kind of do a little bit of everything. And, I'm very thankful for everybody to, give me opportunities, and usually I'm pretty open as long as I'm not busy.
Sure, sure. And again, this month too, just being really piled up with a lot of different things. We all have to check in on each other, make sure that we're all good, drinking our water, sleeping, and all that sort of stuff. But it's really great to be able to see that you're being able to have so many bookings in here and performing, as well as again doing project community stuff. I want to be able to start asking this question a little bit more openly, just because, like, at the beginning of us doing this podcast, my main question was kind of like, what is your opinion on the new kids? And since a year ago, that question kind of got erased, just because I think a lot of the DJs now, we encourage new and upcoming DJs to purchase maybe a $400 console. It's not even a matter of like, oh, you purchased a $400 console. It's good for you. You did it, and you're performing, and you're doing your best and finding the bookings. And I think we've got to the point where it doesn't matter how many bookings are on the timeline. It's just they're there, and you get to go to whichever you choose and have a good time with it. But my that question kind of got evolved into, so where do you want this to go? So that's my question to you now too, is that now that you're starting to get a little bit more of a footing, and you're performing a lot more, and you're voluntarily performing a lot more, what is the future of Noved Player for DJing? Is there going to be IRL stuff in the future? What is this, something that you've been passionate, that you've been wanting to do?
I wouldn't mind doing IRL stuff again, because I've been doing IRL DJing since like 2018 and stuff. I kind of took a lot of a back burner seat, mainly because a lot of the places I used to DJ at, unfortunately, had to close their doors, like during COVID and after COVID. So I haven't been really booking myself a lot IRL. I really need to. Unfortunately, not a happy note, but unfortunately, due to my job closing its doors due to not being able to pay the lease, fortunately lost my job past Monday. So I'm always looking for stuff to, kind of branch out and avenue and stuff. But definitely looking forward to doing more stuff when it comes to like branching out and getting myself out there more. Especially when it comes to DJing and the podcast, essentially getting the word out on a broader scope, because unfortunately, like, as we know, it's like YouTube algorithms, a lot of the stuff when it comes to VRChat that's shown, it's like, yeah, there's these type of people that are not so good people, and I'm like, no, look at all this amazing stuff. This is not what VRChat is. Look what this is. This is what VRChat is.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like IRL, like, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I also do, vocal performance and stuff outside. I perform in a multi-international champion barbershop chorus known as the Ambassadors of Harmony. I have 3 international medals with them, 2 silver, 1 gold.
Probably works with the hat then, right?
Yeah, well, I actually have the medal here.
Oh, that's cool. Cool. All right.
Yeah. I actually have the Ambassadors logo here on this sleeve, and then the chorus that I direct here on this sleeve. But I've been doing barbershop music for roughly about 7 to 8 years now. Roughly about 2016, I guess I wouldn't be 7 or 8 years. That'd be a lot longer, but
right.
But it's been a long time. Math is not my greatest suit, despite me being a musician. But it's, doing all that. Funny enough, the international convention for barbershop is actually coming to my home state, this upcoming year.
Oh, perfect.
So I don't have to drive, states away. And usually it's during the week of Project Fest too. So I'm like doing 2 different conventions at once. It's like, but it's definitely growth on both fronts when it comes to, not only IRL, but also VRC as well, just to kind of branch out and show the world what VRChat really is, and what type of content I can produce, to showcase that. There's so many amazing creators out there that do the same thing, whether it's podcast or shorts creators like Asterix, all around the world, different places around the entire globe that showcase what this platform really is, and why it's such a good place for hundreds of thousands of people.
Right. And being able to be, all in one place, especially when it comes to virtual market too, is just a definitely very easy not pickings, but like, very easy to come in here and say, oh, that looks cool. Oh, I could commission this person. Oh, and then you'll be able to see something before, the bots get you on Discord, kind of a thing. So, it's really nice that we're able to kind of come in here and do that. But Noved, thank you so much for coming by to the show. You want to tell everybody where to be able to see all of your stuff online?
Yeah. So hello for those that may be just tuning in. My name is Noved Player. I do a bunch of different stuff. If you want to find me, usually the best places are on YouTube at youtube.com/@NovedPlayer, NovedPlayer, or you can feel free to check out some of my stuff over on all the different streaming platforms. You'll probably find the podcast, the NovedNotes. I also do have a VRChat group, the Noved Squad at NOVED.6608, as well as some other socials that you can find on the group, such as my Twitter, Blue Sky, my Discord, all that type of stuff. If any people watching out there are interested in maybe come on the NovedNotes podcast, feel free to hit me up via DM or make a ticket inside the Discord. Making a ticket's the best place because I get about 30 DMs every couple of hours. So usually join the Discord usually helps. But yeah, no, Rob, thank you for having me on again, and much love, and hope you have a great rest of your day, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I mean, we definitely have a lot more cooking in the next couple of weeks, but at the same time too, being able to sit here and kind of get the exclusive, especially because Project Community just they keep going, like that, and the Project Fest, we want to be able to hear a little bit about what was going on with that. So thank you again, and for everybody at home, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be joined with Crane VT to discuss everything about all the things that he's been trying to get together up on YouTube, as well as I'm gonna ask him the very weird question of the 60-hour ketamine video that he just made. So we're gonna end up talking about it. I'm gonna dig it up and we're gonna talk about it. So we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.